Okay, hello all you crazy people out there. My name is Michael, I like wizards and dragons and making games, and let's do some tower defense. So in the last video, I set up some user interface for towers so that when you build a tower and when you click on it, something shows up, and you can see information about the tower and its name. You can choose to upgrade it, you can choose to sell it, or that kind of thing. There's a couple bugs that I did not have time to fix in the last video. One of them being that if you sell a tower, and if you try to build something else in its place, you will see that I am not allowed to do that because as far as the game is concerned, there's still something there. When I clicked on that space, the tower UI showed up for that tower. It's not really what we want. There's also some other issues, such as if you have a tower selected for building, and if you click on a tower, the tower UI shows up. That's not really what you want either. I will be fixing hopefully both of those, and I believe there was one other bug that I noticed at some point that I want to fix. Anyway, remove collision for towers. This is up until about 2 minutes ago. I thought this was going to be more sucky and more complicated than it was, but it actually isn't that bad. It's not going to be that bad. If I can find the tower entity. Where are we? Bullet. Different types of bullets. I really should separate this into different script files because there are like 500 lines of code in here, 600 lines of code in here. Tower. In cell, the destroy method for the tower is going to be called. I'm also going to remove from grid. Let's see. We're just going to create a mirror of add collision called remove collision. And this is just going to do the opposite of this of the add collision method. I'm not going to make this a part of entity. I'm not going to make this a member of entity because it is something that only towers will be able to do, and it won't necessarily work for other entities. So in general, there could be more than one objects in any given point in the grid. There could be like two trees that are partially overlapping or something. That will never be the case for towers. You will never be able to build more than one tower in a single location in the game. And therefore, we don't have to... if you're removing a tree or something, for example, you would have to reevaluate the solidness value of a... God. You would have to reevaluate the solidness value of any given position in the grid, because there could still be things there. But since we're just doing towers, and since there can only be one tower in a grid cell at the same time, that is not a concern. So instead of saying game.collision grid of that is going to equal the maximum value of whatever's already there and grid collision filled, we can simply set this to grid collision free.
Hey.
And after that, we can call the remove collision method when we sell a tower, and this should prevent us from being prohibited to build a tower in the same location as something that was previously sold. So I'm going to just plop this down here right in the middle, sell it, plop something else down there. And okay, I'm not 100% sure. All right, so it looks like the I think I know what's going on. Let me commit this change. Like that. And there's also the matter of, I guess this is a separate issue. I thought this was taken care of when the tower was removed from the list, but when the Raycast. Let's see, there's collision free. That's fine. Collision is path. That's fine. This is, I believe, okay, no, this isn't exactly the same, this isn't exactly the same code. It's just very similar. It takes a different mask to check for. Tower.raycast. Tower.collision. Okay, so this is going through the entire... I hate this. I hate this code. I'm not going to change it because it works, but I hate this code. entity list could either be a DS list or an array, and it drives me mad. Where were we? All right, here we are. Entity selected entity hover equals get under cursor all towers. I believe when you spawn a tower, it adds itself to the all towers list, and where is even that used? When you spawn an entity, when you spawn a tower, it adds itself to all towers, but when you delete it, it does not remove itself. So what is in spawn tower? Tower to add to map. I think I started doing this in the last video. Add to map. Yeah, okay. I don't believe when you get destroyed, you automatically remove yourself from the all entities list, but not from the all towers list. Okay. So let's do that as well. We are getting to the point where I should probably like override the destroy method. Just for the sake of having clean code, but we'll see if this we'll make sure this works first. All right. Stick you down, sell, replace you with something else, and we're fine. Okay, that's good. There's also the issue, and this may have been what I was thinking of before, but when you have a tower selected and when you click on one of these buttons, all right, to do tower upgrade, that's fine. When you click on like Pebble Shooter or something, it dismisses the menu and automatically brings back this and simulates a click on the Pebble Shooter button because that's what happens to be right under it. That is obviously not ideal. Can I build you there? I can. That is obviously not ideal. So I think I will be implementing a slight delay, or maybe maybe causing the maybe causing the input to go to sleep when you click on that or something like that. I'm not sure yet. I could also just like disable mouse input on like this side of the screen when you're in that menu, but that might be a bit extreme. So let's close out of that. And apparently I didn't actually commit that, which is weird. Where were we?
Hey.
All right, so I don't know if I want to override the destroy method. That might be just kind of frivolous. I don't know if it's actually going to be needed. I'll leave that alone for now. I've been going for 8 minutes. This actually went faster than I expected it to. What else? So the matter with the UI. What I'm thinking of doing is if I were to go into the room editor, and if I were to look at this, I might create myself another object, and I might say, let's say, UI unclickable, or something like that. That's a very unhelpful name. Let's give it another name. UI block Raycast is slightly better. And I can just I can give this a basic sprite, something that I can see. And let's just call this let's just color this, I don't know, pick your favorite color. Let's color this yellow. Make it a solid yellow. And we can assign it to the block Raycast object. This isn't going to do anything. But it is going to exist on the UI. And can I order you in the layer? Can I like send you to the bottom of the layer? Like that? Okay, good, I can. That helps. If I couldn't do that, that would make things a little complicated. And this is just going to be kind of a dummy object, and it's going to prevent the game from executing a raycast into the world if you click on it, and that will just prevent clicking on something like a button that's not activated or a text label or just in the general vicinity of here from doing a raycast into the world and causing issues. This is... Cancel. All right, I've got the wrong layer selected. This is not like an ideal solution. This feels kind of dumb. It feels kind of messy. It feels like if I do certain things, this is just going to break and not work. But as I've said before, this is not supposed to be a hugely complicated game. I'm not going to try and like test every single edge case, which may break a system like this. I'm just going to hope that this is good enough. So the next thing after that is going to be to, I'll organize this resource hierarchy in a minute, since a lot of this is stuff that I wasn't sure what I was going to do with that first, and now that I have a reasonably good picture of that, I might want to clean that up a little bit. With UI block Raycast, we're going to do something similar, and we are going to figure out its depth, add it to a layer. This is I'm going to make this all UI elements list struct rather a little bit more advanced still. Right now, each of the members inside the struct simply points to a list. I'm going to make that a struct which contains a couple of variables, which is going to be elements, which is going to be the actual list, and block Raycast, which is just going to be initialized to undefined. These are going to refer to layers instead. I'm going to call this layers as the local variable name, just to keep things... Nope. Alright, just to keep things from getting a little bit confusing and unhelpful and badly named. And instead of adding directly to again, instead of this struct containing just a list for every single depth value, layer, whatever, it is going to contain a struct which contains said list and a block Raycast object. And the block Raycast object is going to be this thing. Let's see. Let's actually mirror this. Let's actually recopy that. So we're going to make a couple assumptions. One is that if the block Raycast object exists on a layer that does not have any UI elements on it, then we don't really care about it. We can just kind of ignore it. The next is, well, it's related. I shouldn't say it's a separate thing. But that's also going to mean that we don't actually need that. And I can just say if layers is not equal to undefined, then instead of dslist adding that, we can simply say layer dot layers dot. It shouldn't be plural, but layer itself is a reserved word, and I don't think I can actually make a local variable with that name. Layers.block Raycast is going to equal myself. And then we can set ourselves to invisible. Might as well also do that. There's the little caveat that if you did not add yourself to a layer, this can just be completely destroyed. This instance can be destroyed. We don't need it. It's been a while since I've typed out the instance destroy function, and this should do it. So I now have to update references to all elements. I'm quickly realizing that like making small incremental changes to the code in this way is probably not really ideal. I deliberately didn't do a lot of planning for this series because I wanted it to be like planning stuff on the fly, and I feel like that's probably doing more harm than good. So the next time I do one of these series, I think I'm going to spend a video or so on an episode 0 explaining how everything is going to be put together. So hopefully I have to do far less of this. Elements is the member of that list. That struct rather. Elements contains the list that is the variable that belongs to that struct. And this shouldn't overall change anything. We should not actually see a yellow rectangle on the screen because there should not be. Line 138, there should not actually be that thing drawing itself. And oh, okay. So if layers is equal to undefined, then this is created, but it's never actually set to layers. So I forgot to carry that bit over from before I made changes. We can try this instead. All right. let's try. You see there is no yellow rectangle. Oh, there is. Okay, so it is drawing itself automatically. Did I not set that to visible to false? Hang on, wait. First, nothing's changed, but so if I were to set visible equals false there. Oh, you know what? Okay, this is I was not actually doing that. All right, it's a good thing I stopped for 2 seconds and thought about what I was writing. Haha, just kidding. I rarely do that. All right, so we were adding the wrong object. All right, thank God for bugs. Otherwise, if that sprite wasn't there hovering in the corner of the map, then it would have been very difficult to track down things when they went wrong later if I didn't notice that. All right, well, I can make this commit. This also means that later on in the future, if I need to add other things to the UI, it'll be just as easy as adding something else to this layer struct here. I don't think that's gonna happen, but just in case I do want something like that to happen, other helper objects or something like that, it won't be that bad. All right. Now, actually making use of that. So, where is Raycast? Where is the Raycast performed? Let's say whole word only. So tower.raycast is the only point where that's done. Get under cursor. All right, if I recall, this is used in a couple places to figure out what your mouse cursor is on top of, and that's okay. That helps. That means that all I have to do to take into the ignore raycast thing into account is like in the beginning of this method, we can say no. I don't need to keep a local variable counter of any sort for. Hang on. So we'll start with God. All right, let's back up a couple steps. Again, planning. It's not a thing I am quite famous for. Where's this is editor stuff. I can just collapse this entire thing just so that there's a little bit less in this 600 plus line script. I believe it's in the GUI when that's drawn. All right, so layer elements is obtained through this. So there may be other situations where I want to see what UI layer is active, namely here, and namely when I perform the raycast to see if the raycast should be blocked by something on the UI. I am going to add myself a little helper method. Active UI layer, it's going to equal function. And all this is going to do is move this to here so that I can call it from anywhere. If selected entity is going to equal undefined, instead of setting that to a variable, we're going to return this, and we're also going to return the struct itself and not the elements that it contains. We're not going to return the list of elements. And here I can say var layer elements is going to equal active UI layer. Should I call it GUI layer just because that's kind of what it's called everywhere else? I'm going to do that. Active GUI layer. And we don't need the entire struct representing a GUI layer here. We just need the list of stuff in it, so we can just say dot elements, and we can go straight to there. And now this looks a little bit better. Hanging empty lines bother me more than they really should, as you may have noticed. So I'm going to get rid of that. This looks a little bit neater, and we can recycle this code wherever we want. I am going to rearrange this a little bit, though. So if selected entity is not equal to undefined, then we're going to return the UI tower select, and then the kind of the default case is going to be a UI game. I may do something else. I may make like a nicer clickable UI instead of just text on the screen and please hit a function key for the editor mode. I don't know if I want to go too like over the top crazy with the editor mode, because it's not important and I want to focus on gameplay stuff. As much fun as creating game editors is, it's not really moving things forward in a meaningful way, the same way that working on stuff like towers is. Anyway, active GUI layer. So, get under cursor. Oh, you know what? Okay. I know this is going to bite me eventually if I don't do it, so I'll just do it now. If gameplay mode is equal to game modes.editor, we are just going to return undefined for now. This may change again if I want to do something in the editor, but I feel like if I accidentally, if I open the editor and I try to raycast in some way by like clicking on a tree to select it or something, and this is still being processed, that might cause more confusion than it'll really fix. So I will create a bit of a fail state to check if we're in the editor or not. Okay, now, you know, I'm also going to minimize these just so that they're not taking up space. Get under cursor. So, UI layer is going to equal active GUI layer. If UI layer is not equal to undefined, because there is a chance that it may be, we are going to loop through. No, we're not going to loop through. We are going to say var raycast block. It's going to equal UI layer dot, what was it, block. Is this redundant? This is kind of redundant. All right, we won't do that. We won't bother saving it to a variable because it's just one dot operator. If it was like 2 or 3, I might save it to a local variable just to make it a little more readable, increase performance by a couple nanoseconds. If window get cursor x, no, window cursor. All right, what is it? Window mouse x. Get x. Okay, there we go. 4th time's the charm. I think that was the 4th time. If that is, all right, you know, I don't want to type that out every time. This I will save to a local variable. mx mouse x is going to be window mouse get x. My is going to be the same for y. 2 letters for a variable name is vastly preferable to looks like about a dozen, maybe 15, 20 letters for a function name. If mx is greater than UI layer dot bbox left, and mx is less than UI layer dot. This should be dot block raycast dot block. Okay, fine. I've hit my limit. I don't feel like typing this out every time either. We can just we can shorten that to block, save it to a local variable. I really don't like typing, as you can probably tell. And my is greater than block dot bbox top, and my is less than block dot bbox bottom. We are just going to return undefined. Thing selected maybe undefined. This function is allowed to return undefined. All right. Assuming that bbox left, bbox right, bbox top, and bottom do what I think they do, this should be fine. This should be the objects bounding box in space, taking account into things like sprite index and the scale. It doesn't say if it does. All right, if it doesn't, I'll just have to multiply by the scale myself. Let's try this. Actually, hang on, wait. Just so that I can see without having to try to guess, show debug message. Ah, screaming is the best debug message. If all you need it to do is check if your code has reached a certain line or not. All right, so we are indeed screaming when we mouse over this part of the screen. That's fine. If I were to select you, and let's scroll the console to the bottom again, and select you and mouse over, for example, this. Okay, that's only half the job. I also need to block it when it comes to dismissing this. When it comes to dismissing oh god, what is it? The selected entity, and that sort of thing. All right, well, this is good enough for now. This is undoubtedly going to be important. Get I think I spelled that wrong. CURSOR block will ignore there we go. Next, I see I've done screaming case here as well when the player dies. That's fun. Where were we? Where is selected entity equals undefined? There we go. So this is the editor. At least I think this. No, this is when you swap between the editor and gameplay. That's fine. I am going to not look at the editor stuff. Okay, fine, whatever. Oh no, I'm looking right at it. Okay, yes. Okay, so I'm going to need to do basically the exact same thing here. And what that means is that instead of duplicating code, as always, instead of duplicating code, let's turn this into its own method. Get Raycast blocked is going to be its own function, and this is going to return instead of an object. This is going to return true or false. If your mouse is over one of those objects, return true. Else, if that never happens, return false. If get Raycast blocked is true, the get under cursor method is going to return undefined. Otherwise, and what was it that I was just here we go. If get Raycast blocked is in this case false. We're going to negate the result of this. So if this function returns false, if this method returns false, then we're going to do this, and that should mean that no more attempting to spawn things or anything like that when you're in this menu. Okay, so now when I click out of the game window, when I click in the general vicinity of these buttons, the UI is not dismissed. There is not a lot of this. There's not a lot of space around the UI. If I click like here, it doesn't get dismissed, but if I just move my cursor out about this much, it does. Same thing on the bottom. There's not a lot of space. If I move my cursor this far down, it'll get dismissed. So I think I will make this bigger. The other option is instead of having an invisible option. Let's try that again. The other option is instead of this being invisible, this could actually look like something. I could actually give this a sprite or something. Which is also a valid way to do it, so that the player at least knows that they're clicking on something or not. I will think about that. I think it would be a good idea to give it a sprite. I don't want to make it distracting, however. So let's mark this commit, get Raycast blocked method, and ignore when checking to select a tower. That's good enough. That's a bit of a weird commit message, but it's good enough. I'm not going to be scrutinizing every single commit message I make. I just want to do slightly better than the keyboard mash that it's all too easy to fall into when you do commit messages. The other thing, and I thought I mentioned this in the last video, but I did not hear myself say it when I went back to edit it. Let's hide that layer. This is a text label. It has the same sprite as a button. It would be a good idea to make the text layer background image different from a button so that the player knows that they can't click on it. I forget exactly what I said about this, but I think I made this SPR_text label. This was supposed to be temporary, and I was supposed to think about changing it to something else later on down the line, and just never did. Either that, or I just had a complete brain fart and said it's fine to make them the same sprite. But either way, this should look different so that the player knows that they can't click on it, regardless of the fact that it does not darken when you mouse over it. I'm just going to, let's just make this a very light gray border to make it a little bit different. No, I think I like a solid white color better instead of having the border. Okay, so that's the text label. There's also the matter of the block Raycast sprite. If I were to do that, which I guess I might as well do now since I'm messing with sprites. Alright, one, let's make this bigger. Is that locked? That's locked. One, let's make this bigger. And let's also make this bigger. Let's drag this a half tile down. Or you know what I'm allowed to do is change the grid snapping. There we go. Now it's more or less the same border size in every dimension. Okay, now the fact that the buttons are they're a little bit farther from the left than the top is bothering me. All right. I get hung up on the weirdest things sometimes. Let's am I not allowed to select these? There we go. Why am I not allowed to like rectangle select in the room editor? That's a little weird. I thought I was able to do that. I could have sworn I was doing that before. Anyway. Let's see. You can go over 16. Oh no. Okay, so the grid spacing is per layer, it seems. You can go over 16, you can go over 16, and you are hanging out a little bit too much. Alright, and it's roughly the same size across all layers. That's fine. Alright, let's run the game, just to see what it looks like. How long have I been recording for? 36 minutes. Okay. I don't think much of this is going to be cut out, but I have gotten almost everything done that I wanted to in this video, so I'm happy. Alright, so you definitely look more like a text label than a button now, which is what I was going for. If I click off, I can click off and go back to the main thing. I still don't have a way to deselect a tower. I would like to have this game playable with the mouse as much as possible. I'm thinking of, right now you use the arrow keys to scroll around. I'm thinking of if you move the mouse to the edge of the screen, to the border of the screen, you will pan the camera, or at least have an option to do that. I would like this to be playable with just the mouse if possible. And therefore, to deselect a tower, maybe like right-click or something. I'll get to that in a minute. The other thing, though, is first, let's actually just draw the block Raycast sprite. We can do that in the same object-oriented method that... we can do that in the same object-oriented manner that we're doing with the actual layer elements. So I can say layer elements dot block Raycast block ray. This is impossible. Dot render. And we can give these a render method in much the same way that UI button and UI text and whatever has one. It's more or less just going to be the 9-slice though, because there's going to be no fancy text on the screen. I don't need anything like that. I'll leave the sum image index code there just in case. All right. So this should draw the 9-slice. This should not only draw the sprite with the image scale and everything, but this should draw it 9-sliced as well. Unable to find instance for object of that. Did I spell it wrong? I probably spelled it wrong, didn't I? It is block underscore Raycast. Alright. Let's show debug message this then. Show debug message. If this is returning, if this is, oh no. Okay, this is a list. Alright, so, as usual, I'm forgetting what variables are where. So this is going to return the layer object, which contains several things. Before we were automatically going to the elements member of that struct, which was obviously causing trouble when we were trying to look up a member of the DS list. That could have caused very strange problems had that index coincided with with an index of an object or something. But fortunately, there apparently is no object 7, and indeed this is being drawn. If I were to select a tower, this would be drawn. That's fine. And just for the sake of making this nice, I'll make the block Raycast sprite similar. All right, so let's copy that and paste it in here. This needs to be 48 by 48 to make the slicing nice. Instead of whatever it was before. I need to select that. The Game Maker image editor, the Game Maker sprite editor it's okay. If you happen to want to do the same thing that the Game Maker sprite editor wants you to do. If you're trying to use the Game Maker sprite editor like something like Paint or Sprite or something, it is a nightmare. I'm not a fan of it because there is such a large amount of work that people have to do to learn how to use the Game Maker sprite editor in order to make the most of it. People say it's broken, it's buggy, it's bare bones. It's not really any of those things. It's just the tools don't do what you think they do if you're coming from other image editing tools, and that makes it a lot of trouble to try and learn how to use it. I'm just going to fill this in with like a background color, like tan, like as if this is made of wood or something. Alright, the Game Maker sprite editor is a rant for another day. Like several things in Game Maker, the reason that I don't like it tends to differ a little bit from the reason that other people don't like it. And because I shrunk the sprite, the 9 slices, the scale of the sprite is a little bit weird. Alright, is that the right amount of spacing? It looks good. Alright. Let's resize you. Fun. Okay. It does admittedly look weird when it's stretched in the room editor. It looks better in the actual game, obviously, because it's sliced instead of stretched, but that's for another day. Okay, so the border is on this side, and it's not like, I think there's a 1 pixel margin on the left, which I don't quite like. All right, well, we know how to get rid of that. We know how to solve that problem. Let's just move you off the screen a little. All right, you won't be able to see the border, and it'll just, all right. The border will disappear off the sides of the screen, and I think that'll look a little bit better than having a nice off by 1. There we go. All right, I like this. I don't know. I don't think I want this to be how it looks in the final game. I will consult some people with better visual design senses than I do on that matter. If you all watching this have some opinions on visual design, let me know. But I think I will make this a commit, and I'm gonna do one more thing. I know I've been running a little bit longer than I really want to, but I don't want this to run into like multiple videos. I could break this up into 2 parts and they'd both be like almost 20 minutes, but I don't want to break this up into 2 parts. I want to make it feel like there's a sense of progress over week by week. Made the UI look less like garbage. All right, I didn't actually change any code there, did I? Besides adding the render method to the UI Raycast blocker or whatever. All right, so the next order of business, I said I was going to do this, is going to be organizing the resource tree. Let's just drag you into graphical stuff. I think I'll make a separate folder inside what is this used for? Oh, that's the helper script for the shader, for the coloration shader. All right, that's all the temporary stuff. This can go in graphical stuff. Where is the shader? Oh, shd_selected is the shader. This can go in there. Block Raycast. All of these objects can go in there. And I'm going to make another folder inside this, another group inside this. User interface stuff. And I guess I can make the resource tree a little bit bigger. I think I used to do this, and I just stopped doing it at some point. Don't know why. It's easier to see in a YouTube video when the font size is a little bit big and the resource tree is a little bit big. Alright, anyway, that encompasses most of this. The 9 slice, the font, all of the objects relating to the UI. The sprites that relate to the UI. SPR underscore ground is not one of those. All of these can go in user interface stuff. Okay, I think that's good enough for me, for now. It's really the asset browser now, isn't it? Like that. And the last thing, this should only take a minute, is in the update method, when the game is updated, if you right click, you should deselect whatever you have selected. So, this looks like the editor. This is the editor. The editor, I should mention, does use the keyboard quite a bit, but general gameplay generally does not. Oh, send and wave does. I could make that a button on the UI. Optionally, in case you in the event that you actually want to play with entirely the mouse. If mouse MB right, as I said before, I may make the input. I may either do one of two things. I may make these macros, so that the keys and the mouse buttons and whatever are not hard coded, or I may actually use an input manager for input. I don't think I'm gonna do that because, again, keep it simple, stupid. But let's deselect. Is there a okay? Selected entity.deselect. I thought there was something like that I would have wanted to call, just in case. All right. So this should make it so that I'm gonna spawn something and I'm gonna select you. You are glowing. I right click and the game crashes because apparently I do not actually have a deselect method. Okay, that may just be an editor thing. All right. I do know that the editor has a little bit more behind it in terms of like placing entities and controls and stuff like that than the actual gameplay does. But regardless, you have been deselected. That's fine. It took me more time to find the part of the code that I had to edit than to actually edit that code. Deselect towers with the right mouse button. With the right mouse button. Okay, I'm gonna call it here. I feel like a lot got done. I said in the past that I did want to dedicate occasional days to refactoring and bug fixes, and that is today. If you want the code for this, there will be a link to a GitHub repository in the video description. Look for the what are we up to 0.27 week 27. That is Windows doing Windows things. I believe we are up to week 27. All right, that is a pre-release. If you're following along. Otherwise, I have a Patreon, so if you want to contribute towards these videos being made, there will be links to that in all of the usual places. I try to post about 2 of these videos a week, one of these and one tutorial. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, be sure to subscribe. Otherwise, I hope you all enjoyed that, and I will see you all later. Special thanks to David Key, Edward Holt, Emily Koyo, Jason, and Zenith for supporting these videos. If you want to get access to these things a day early, or to see your name in the credits, head on over to the Patreon page in the video description to join the fun.